Hello folks, Sinow here, your new home for everything Resident Evil Resistance, and I am bringing you another Mastermind build guide today for Alex. So, a lot of you probably know at the moment that Alex has recently had a bit of a nerf because of the way traps take off time from survivors. They have changed it so that if multiple traps go off on survivors at the same time, they won't all combine their time penalties together. And instead it'll only ever take off 5 seconds from a survivor, which has made things quite difficult for Alex, who was already considered by the community to be the weakest Mastermind. However, I like a challenge. Many people who watch me stream know that I love to try and play as the weaker characters and find some hidden strengths in them, and I've been winning like crazy with this new Infectious Alex build that I have come up with. As you can see on the screen here, 20 wins in a row, easy. But it does require me to play slightly differently from the way that I like to usually play creature builds. A lot of my previous guides, you might have noticed that I tend to buff up creatures and get very aggressive with them. I'm summoning over and over and like really getting in the survivors' faces. With this build, what you want to do is you want to spread infection among your creatures and infect the survivors, and then you kind of play conservatively. This is a much different creature build from the usual kind of overwhelm them Annette style, where it's more about kind of applying pressure in certain locations, making sure the survivors stay poisoned, and then like slowly draining them as you stall and waste their time in order to get the victory. So I think for some people who maybe like that type of gameplay more, this build might be the build for you. So let's cover the skills that we're using on this build first and foremost. For Yativeo, a lot of people have found Yativeo to be quite a weak bioweapon. They've had a lot of issues with it, and I do think that Yativeo is probably the weakest bioweapon among the Masterminds at the moment. However, I have had some luck using it in special situations. I hope that the footage will show you how I tend to use it. There are certain areas that lend itself very well to Yativeo, and you will probably need experience and time to get used to this. But I'm using the Verdant passive, where it has more health and it's harder to escape from the slime. I find that a lot of the time it's better to repeatedly slime people and then use the constricting vines to damage them than it is to try and go for devours, much like other BOWs, and you can really chunk down survivors and keep them in place over and over with this. And if you're clever, you can bounce out of Yativeo, summon more infectious mobs, and then bounce back into it when the time is right to really keep up the pressure on survivors and like stall them as much as possible so they can't do a certain objective or get past a certain area. For the biohazard passive, we have Epidemic. So this is one of the reasons why in the equipment we're using Viral Canister 3 and 2 here, is that we need more poison. However, with Epidemic, spreading the poison is in fact a lot easier. This does two things. It increases the infectious gas duration, so this is like the kind of AoE ring around zombies that you see, and this is important because we don't want survivors to have an easy time of walking out of this so that they don't build up infection. And then it also makes it so that creatures within the area of effect will also become infectious. So essentially, if you summon an infectious zombie beside other creatures, those other creatures will become infectious too. Which means that you don't have to use an enhancer for infection to spread it around. It's very easy. On top of this, for Residents of Evil, we are making it so that trap cards are reduced by 1. We're actually using a couple of trap cards in this deck, yeah. We're using Virus Mine as our Area 2 trap, and we're using Leg Cold trap here. So it's nice to make the cost of them cheaper. It's not the be-all and end-all of your build for traps, but it is a kind of integral part of the strategy here, and being able to summon them for cheaper is good, because this build maybe doesn't have that much energy economy to it. That is maybe one of its weaknesses, I would say. So having lower cost trap cards will help you here. Like I said before, Area 2 Virus Mine. I love this mine. It's great because even if they shoot it, it just explodes and it creates the poison ring, which increases in duration because of Epidemic. So this is a very safe mine to use, I would say. Only Martin, I think, can disable it without it going off. You want to maybe try and use this in areas where you think the survivors will have to stand still for a while. For instance, in downtown by the elevator, while they click the button, they have to wait. So if you have this trap go off, even before they get there or after they get there, if you blow up yourself, you will create a poison field area, which will gradually infect the survivors. This is very effective. Yes, any area that you think they'll be standing in for a long period of time is usually a good idea for this, but it's also nice to make them stand in it as well if you can. I think it takes off extra time if they actually step in it to trigger the trap, so to speak. Then for area 3, we're using the Camouflage Jester. I was using the Jester in this deck to begin with, but I took it out because Jesters are a little on the pricey side, and instead I'm only using the Camouflage Jester in area 3. You might be wondering why I'm not using Efficiency mod Infection, considering that most of the creatures that I summon in this deck are in fact poison, and it also would work on the Virus Mine. And that is because I think it's just more useful to have Efficiency mod creatures for areas 1 and 2. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So I'm going with the Camouflage Jester. The Camouflage Jester is nice because you can use it to spread infection, obviously, but it also, when it screams, it makes survivors stand still, and the longer they stand still, the more they're going to be sucking up the noxious fumes that you're putting down on the floor or with your creatures. So this is actually quite effective for this build, and it's one of the few times where I feel like Camouflage Jester really synergized quite nicely with Alex, because a lot of the time with the trap builds, I'm like, this isn't really doing a lot here. He is a little squishy, he has the same HP as the normal zombie, so do be careful, but if you can put him behind other zombies or around corners so that they can't immediately like attack him, especially against melee survivors, and in particular near areas of infectious gas, the Camouflage Jester can do work. And remember, the Camouflage Jester can also become an infection spot if you use the passive of Epidemic. So moving on to equipment. The equipment is very easy for this build. Viral Canister 3 and 2 greatly and moderately increases infection rate. We need this because we're not using the Amplify passive, so it's important that we make them as infected as possible very quickly. And then I have found that Resilient Skin 2 with the remaining 5 points has paid dividends for me. This increases the maximum health of creatures, and it just makes it that little bit longer to kill off creatures. And I think this can be the difference sometimes between increasing an infection level and having it get up to the top and then tick down again. You could change this if you're finding that you want something else instead. You could, for instance, use Virulent Claws, which increases attack and infection rate of the zombies or creatures. I would also say Virulent Claws is a good pickup here, but in my experience, I'm finding that Resilient Skin 2 is doing the job quite nicely. Moving on to the deck, we have a variety of traps and a couple of creatures to help us out here. First of all, Lockdown Trap. So this only costs 1 with our passive. I forgot to mention we're also using Lockdown Traps earlier. Whoops, my bad. Lockdown Trap. So this is actually really, really important for this build because you want to play this kind of like, you know how when we first unlocked Spencer and he's built to us as like a stall mastermind on this menu, time stalling in mods? Well, I actually would say Alex should get the time stalling tagline. I think it would suit her much better. And the way that you play this deck, you're basically playing to try and stall the survivor's time as much as possible. Lockdown traps are great for this if you can hide them under zombies or just like make it so that they can't immediately see them as they come into a room, as it will constantly lock doors in the area, and it locks every door in the area by 1 level. So if they stand in more than 1 lockdown trap, everything is getting locked to level 2. 3 traps, everything gets locked to level 3, you get it. On top of your own locking of doors, you really, really make it so that survivors are spending a lot of time kind of trying to get through doors over and over, and if they're coughing and losing 5 seconds per cough with the infection, it makes a lot of sense to keep stalling them so that they keep losing time. Especially as a survivor, if you bash into a door and then you start coughing, it makes it take even longer and you lose even more time. Very frustrating, and this is a great card for this deck. We have 3 creatures I'll just cover. No, we have 4 creatures I'll just cover now. Tough Zombie Infectious and Zombie Infectious. These are very important for this build because they're like the epicenter of you spreading out the infection to other creatures that you might have not only down in the deck that you play, but also inside your presets. And the presets, I would say, are fairly important for this build, so I'll cover them very quickly, the one that I've been using. So yeah, this is just a little quick addendum here about map presets. I find that with the map presets, I've been having a lot of luck with this deck build in having lickers be placed down in the map preset. For instance, in downtown, in that first door, that first area that you just saw, I had 2 lickers there. Then I put down an infectious zombie on top of them so that they become infectious lickers, and then as they're about to break through this door, I switch to this camera out here at the last minute so as not to sort of give away the fact I'm about to use it, and I harass the survivors from behind, and the lickers run out and attack them and spread the poison. In general, you can actually use lickers quite a lot in your presets, even though we're not actually using it in the deck, and bear in mind that anywhere that you put creatures, you don't need to use infectious ones if you then summon an infectious creature on top of them. So it's a really easy way to turn a horde of zombies infectious with the Epidemic build, and it's quite cost effective, and I like it for that reason. But yes, infectious zombie and tough zombie that are infectious are kind of the cornerstone of this build. That's the epicenter that you want to use to spread to other zombies to make a big group of them. Tough zombie, you want this to become infected and it like stays up for a long time. And you can also control the three of these. In fact, controlling zombies quite near the beginning in like a kind of good attack is a really important way to try and make the survivors start off the area infected. Basically, you want with this deck for the survivors to get infected early, so they spend as much time running around the level coughing. Because every time a survivor coughs, it's 5 seconds off the clock. If there's 4 survivors and they all cough, that's 20 seconds off, and you want them to continually do this as they move through the areas rather than like have a spike of infection. So it's important to try and do this as early as you can. So I would say the zombie dog is the one card in this deck that I'm still a little up in the air about here. I do find that zombie dogs are quite good at spreading infection, especially if you have like a big cluster of zombies in one area and they're trying to get through a door. If you spawn a zombie dog behind, it tends to sort of run into the infection anyway and then continue to spread it around. And it only gives 5 seconds when it gets killed off, which is not a lot, but you could swap this card, I would say, for something like Discount if you prefer it, or if you're quite bad at using the dogs. But I have found, surprisingly, that the dogs have worked quite well for me. So I'm keeping them in the deck for the time being. Chat was the reason why I did this in the first place. They were the ones that went to bat for the dog. But you can swap this up, I would say, if you want to. For creature mod here, efficiency mod, I mean, you can summon everything for 1 cost less. You get it, okay? This isn't rocket science here, people. Nice and easy. Especially, like I said earlier, this deck doesn't have a lot of bioenergy. It's maybe a little bit on the slow side, so this really helps you out. Then for time stalling, you have immobilizing rounds. So this is very important, obviously, to make the survivors stand still so they don't go doing objectives. Using this when they're standing inside infectious gas is a great idea. Or using this and then quickly summoning Yativeo is also quite a nice combo. You can sometimes like immediately start a Devour or a Slime Shot off of the back of this if you're quick. So mobilizing rounds, very, very effective. Then we're using Turret Rifle. Turret Rifle is kind of just something to help shave off time and force survivors to make mistakes. You sometimes want to use this when they're trying to barge into a door and there's like a camera to the side or to the back, because it starts to pressure them. It also means that they're more likely to sort of turn around and look up, which means that they're not paying attention to your creatures, so you can summon down more infectious creatures to keep up the infection rates. And generally this just sort of helps divide their attention a lot, and it's very frustrating to play against. But be careful, because if they get rid of a camera with a turret rifle in it, they will get 15 seconds. So don't use it in situations where it doesn't have some sort of other backup. And then leg hold trap. It's shocking to me how frequently survivors stand in leg hold traps nowadays, probably because they're also used to beating low-level masterminds and rushing through levels. You will find time and time again that Jills and Samuels in particular, Jill sandwiches and Samuel sandwiches, get their legs sandwiched in this trap because they love to run into a room with all their dodges and all of their speed and be like, haha, you'll never catch me, and then step on this trap. And that's when, if you can control a zombie that has infection on it, you can really apply tons of infection to them very easily, or just generally harass them or use turret rifle. So this works surprisingly well. And remember, on top of all that, again, if they're in the infection area, they're also inhaling toxin fumes, the whole time. Brilliant. And then Energy Leech. So originally I was using Enhancer Regen with this build to sort of synergize with the extra health to make it so that they stand near creatures that are infectious for as long as possible, but I was finding that it wasn't really paying dividends as much as I would like, so I switched this to Energy Leech. I'm not using Berserker because I find that you want the infectious zombies to sort of stand in a singular area more. This isn't a very aggressive build. You're kind of wanting them to sort of come into your trap, so to speak, of poison. You don't want Berserk zombies to run off and then get killed, because that is how they can kill you without standing inside the area of effect for the infection. So I'm using Energy Leech to try and help me out for those situations where I'm sort of just waiting to be able to set up my next trap. And like I said, it's very conservative, this deck. You'll probably find Energy Leech works best if you apply it to zombies that you then control yourself. But we're only using one enhancer so that we don't get too kind of clogged up when we're trying to do other things, especially as we already have a reduced hand size from the efficiency mod. So that's pretty much the build so far. I will show you some of it in action from streams where I won like 20 times in a row, like I said earlier. I think it's getting some nice results, and it's nice to see an Alex playstyle that revolves around her using Infection. So I hope you enjoy the footage, and I'll go over the tips and the pros and cons after that. So see you on the other side. This could be a good test. That Jill and Becca, this is like a kill the core type group.
Prepare to face 3 challenges. Not 2, not 4, but 3. It will always be 3.
Where's my infection? Thank you. No. No! I do not want dog. That's what I want. Okay, so I wasn't super prepared for this, but it could be okay. I do not want dog.
Aren't our eyes made to be torn out? And hearts for the same
Surprise!
purpose?
You weren't paying attention. Please don't Molotov all my friends.
This is my domain. I control where
Door's
you
locked.
can or can't go.
There's a lockdown trap.
Now run
Becca's
through
in
this
trouble.
maze for me.
Yeah! I'm a fucking idiot. Open the door. Cool.
Abandon hope. I will hunt and destroy you. I'm surprised you lasted this long.
Ba-ba-ding.
Your freedom will not be so easy to earn.
It'll take more than that to stop me.
I will crush you.
Sometimes that's just how it be.
I'm surprised it took
You
you that long
know?
to
Your
find.
zombie rushes out
I
and
made
you
that
just gotta
more
rush him
easy
back in
for you.
again. Excuse me, just burped right there. Stop that. Oh, they stood in the lockdown trap. For goodness sake. Sometimes the lockdown traps like prevent me from doing what I want to do more than anything.
Unlike you, a key to open the path to further. With this strength, your fate is sealed.
Surprise, bitches! That's right. I was behind you.
Yes.
You're down
yes,
again.
this
Oh my God,
data
really?
is intriguing. I'm saving my most interesting scenarios
Don't
for
worry.
later.
Happens to the best of us. I love how he says, not me. You know what, chat? You know what, chat?
Let's mix this up a little.
Come on. Come on, puppy. Please? Puppy? Papilla?
It would have been very good.
Very good. Wow, this is a great Yorick spawn. Okay. I'll see you guys in like 20 years when you get over here. Should have given it a treat. I gave it an energy leech. I need them to come over here, and then I'll blow up the virus mine just in time. I don't think that worked. Damn, he wasn't standing in it.
Aren't our eyes made to be torn out?
So I'm gonna act like I'm protecting
And
this.
hearts for the same purpose?
Oh, I could have spawned a tough zombie there. It's a bit of a waste. But you know what? I'll put it over here. Where did... Oh. Oh, there you are. Get him, dog. Or not. That's fine. That was a bad dog. That was a bad dog.
If it's here, I'll find it.
Man, these doors are just like crumbling.
The relief, the soaring ecstasy of shedding another's blood.
Well, it's pretty much all about this room, huh, chat? I'm gonna wait and use the turret and then Yataveo.
Do not trust the
After
dead
that.
to do a bullet's job. This data is excellent.
Oops.
There's no escape for you now.
Oh my
Come on,
God,
come on, come on.
I would do anything to thank you for that. Anything.
Hello, friends.
You have the honor of being the first to witness the fruition
Oh no,
of
Valerie!
a new research project.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's gonna have a Molotov. Ah, that sucks. She's using the infinite Molotovs build. Thank you, Swing Point, by the way, for that one. Shit.
Wonderful.
Okay, now that she's done.
Use it as a learning experience. Let's go.
I don't think so. Excuse me. That is still a good play. Oh, I'm not done yet. That noise that Jill made, what the fuck?
Cast onto stone. And so too, my beautiful research was wasted in
Roll
your
the music.
pitiful blood. Destroying your hope is part of the test. They will tear the flesh from your bones.
She's been trying to run past me the entire time. Are you joking? No, don't try and eat the one in my... Ugh, silly zombies.
If I were you, I would hurry.
Self-destruct? Self-destruct!
You
No!
have to die.
I'm stunned. That sucks. Did all of my zombies just die? What the fuck?
I needed that for my research.
Oh, my research! Alex, please.
This door.
Let's try this.
One's not making
I want to see your fear firsthand.
You're finished.
Energy, please. Whoa, that's a rocket launcher. Okay, well.
A messy weapon, but effective.
Virus mine?
This is quite unprecedented.
Damn, that sucks. Okay, okay, okay. We get it. Did that grab her? Oh my god, it grabbed her. Oh, I can't lock the door in time,
Yes, this
but she's
data
down
is
anyway.
Intriguing.
Poison?
Stubborn little things, aren't you?
Yeah, he's poisoned.
Very well. I shall move this along.
Yataveo
now.
actually blocked them, I know. It's kind of crazy. Oh wait, they're all... I need to stop wasting energy at the end of areas. This is a bad habit. Whoops. Damn, they recovered. I thought I had that for a second. Still, they're on the back foot here. Having under 3 minutes for the third area and you're all infected at the start is like not
The
great.
saplings reach for the sun, unaware that the fire will burn them to ashes.
That's right. Another crazy bonker shit, Alex, that you like to say. Mm-hmm. Saplings, sure. Plants.
The bliss of murder, the relief. The
Oh, I still got the
soaring
15 seconds off.
ecstasy
Very
of
nice.
shedding another's blood.
They don't have a Martin, which benefits me with the traps, huh? Virus mine, it's exactly what I wanted. Oh, I already energy leached them, didn't I?
son of a gun.
Son of a bitch. Oh, you know what's coming next, chat, don't you?
been growing.
I didn't realize he was already up there, by the way.
Just such as these.
Not gonna lie, I didn't realize he was already up there. If she wants to use it on this,
Hopeless. Give up.
I'm kind of okay with that. I want to get out of this, please. TY. Get out of the plant. Okay, that didn't work out very well, did it?
Taking aim.
Wonderful. Give up this idiotic plan.
Get near me and I'll heal you. Thank you.
Oh, dear.
What is this?
Okay,
Kill or be killed?
here we go, chat. It's not over yet. Supply zombie, don't. It is up here, but they might be able to snipe it, unfortunately. They're having to wait for that elevator, huh? I don't think they're gonna make it, though.
This is your final chance.
Yeah, I got this. I got this.
Just as I calculated.
That was a lucky biocore spawn at the end there. If they had one closer, they would have been able to get extra time.
Run this.
So I hope you enjoyed that footage of the Epidemic build in action. Let's discuss its pros and cons. One of the pros for this build, I would say, is that you find that survivors can't really prevent time loss from coughing very easily. Of course, if you're infected, you can just eat a blue herb, but you're applying infection so strongly and so frequently with this Epidemic build that it's really difficult for the survivors to continually buy the blue herbs that they require. And remember, the item boxes eventually stop selling blue herbs, or it just costs a lot of umbrella credits to keep buying them anyway, that eventually you'll find that you're starting to kind of really burn off the time through repeated coughing, and it's 5 seconds per cough, and if there's 4 survivors, that's a lot of time to lose for something that continually happens over and over. So you will really be able to burn down their time if you continue to apply the infection, especially if you apply it early and strongly at the beginning of areas. Next pro, I would say, is that this patient playstyle that the Epidemic kind of requires, I really enjoy having something that's like creature based that rewards a more patient playstyle for the Galaxy Brain masterminds out there, the connoisseur's choice. A lot of my creature builds so far, as I mentioned at the start of the video, they're kind of like a fighting game rushdown character where they're super aggressive, you're always summoning, you're always in the survivor's face, just kind of constantly going at it. This build requires a more gentle touch. You play conservatively, you let them come to you, you infect them, and then you let them cough for a while, you pick your next moment, you summon Yativeo, continue to keep applying the infection, and you let the coughing do a lot of the work for you. So it's a really nice change of pace, I would say, from the more kind of like enhancer heavy rushdown with liquors type of play, and I really enjoy that myself. Another pro for this build is that even if a zombie dies quite quickly and you don't really get a lot of like attack damage out of it, if you manage to infect the survivors, it's managed to do its job. And that's really nice because we've all had those experiences where a zombie maybe doesn't perform as well as you like, but as long as it's infectious and it's managed to like put up someone's infection rate, you've gotten quite a lot of value out of zombies. Because just think about it, like a zombie grab and bite is 15 seconds, but also 3 coughs is 15 seconds off of the time for survivors, and that is not too difficult to achieve, even if a zombie doesn't live for that long, as long as it has infection. So that's actually quite a nice kind of economical value that you get out of your creatures with this build. As for the cons, so just a little FYI, I try and pick a game for my build videos that goes on to Area 3 to really show off the build in action, and sometimes that means it's the games that I'm not maybe playing my best, because obviously games end quickly if you play really well as Mastermind, but in particular for the Epidemic build, a lot of the time you won't really win in Area 1 and 2 because this is a build that more prides itself on like every time a survivor coughs and loses time, think of it as like you're taking off time in Area 3 for them to eventually win. You know, like the chances of them being able to complete the whole thing, like, it gets narrower and narrower, and you're not feeding them too much time in the first place. So you'll find that you're not really aggressive enough to sort of completely rush them down in area 1 and 2 too frequently, although you can win in areas 1 and 2 sometimes depending on how the game goes. But I would say it's a little bit more about the long con, the long play, where eventually they just kind of don't really have enough time to get to the last bio core and they cough and then that's it. So it's more of an area 3 focused build, and that's not the meme. It is actually an area 3 build, not just a meme. Okay, another con is that Yativeo requires practice and it punishes mistakes really harshly. If you put it down in the wrong place, it's going to do nothing. In general, I find that with Yativeo, try and repeatedly use your slime shots and constricting vines alternatively, because it has like a kind of alternating charge thing where you can slime shot and constricting vines like one after the other quite easily. Try not to go for devourers too much. It's a rookie mistake. And hopefully some of the footage earlier kind of demonstrated after I went for a Devour on the Valerie and then she used a Molotov, I instead kind of comboed them with the Slime Shot and Constricting, and I managed to get it down that way instead. And that's kind of a better way of using it. Another con of this build is, quite frankly, Valerie. Speaking of the devil, she can create safe zones of anti-infection, and she can get rid of infection in safe rooms really easily if you use her modified first aid spray. So she's probably your biggest counter, I would say, to this build. Be wary of Valerie's in your games, and maybe try and target her first if you can, so if she's down that she can't use her first aid spray. That's just generally good advice in this game anyway, but it's very prominent when you play the Epidemic build, I would say. Samuel also has the ability to get rid of infection with his regen punches, but that's only for himself, so maybe not as important. But Valerie in particular is kind of a pain in the ass, so be wary of that one. But regardless, those were the pros and cons of the Epidemic build. I'm so happy to finally have an infection build for Alex that I like playing and that I've had good results with so far. I do think that it's maybe not the strongest because Alex in general is not the strongest at the moment, but hopefully she will get buffed in the future. Regardless, this has been Sinow. Thank you so much for watching my build guide. Take care and good luck.